Hello and welcome to Farscape.
A fun-filled Farscape fancast by a fervent fan.
And a frankly fascinated first-timer.
I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay. And this is the story So Farscape.
Season 4, Episode 10, Coup by Clam. It's great, it's great, it's great, it's so much fun.
It is a hilarious episode. So what do you think they were going for with Coup by... I mean, it's Kubla Khan and...
I always thought it's not quite close enough.
No.
It's not quite enough to be a pun?
No, I didn't think so. So I was wondering if they were going... I mean, it's a lovely phrase, and it actually gets used for a change in the...
text. I don't think that's happened very often at all.
John says it at one point, so it's a coup by Clam.
Yeah. Actually, through the magic of editing, I can now investigate all fucking 76 episodes and see if the title of each episode was ever said.
Till the blood runs clear.
Flex.
Human reaction.
The looking glass.
Nerve. We take this time.
Crackers don't matter.
Picture, if you will.
Dream a little dream of me.
Look at the princess.
Won't get fooled again. The locket. Plan B. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Wait for the wheel.
Different destinations.
They're eating me!
Thanks for sharing. Losing time.
Relativity. Meltdown. The choice. Dog with two bones. Cutting kick.
What was lost? Resurrection.
Promises.
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 Coup by Clam.
Oh, that worked.
That was a lot, or not a lot, depending on whatever the research turns out to be. I don't usually have to put this much editing in. Oh, you're editing this one.
I am.
Whoops.
Yeah,
Sorry,
well.
bud.
I don't know. I can just always delete it.
Good job.
So, yes, Coup by Clam, episode 410, in where the crew visit the paranoid, politically unstable planet of Khurtanan. An opportunistic doctor poisons and blackmails them. Things get even more complicated when the planet's resistance get involved. I wouldn't exactly call it the resistance, but...
No! And it's not complicated at all. It's just sort of...
No,
it's
the plot is very thin.
Yeah, it's just a minor inconvenience that, like nothing matters. Nothing that's set out matters, and they all know it. The only thing that matters, okay, we need those. What are the hoops that we need to jump through this time?
Yes,
just show me the hoops.
It is a very entertaining episode, but it's like, it's very thin on overall plot and development and nothing. It's just it's just a fun episode.
It's such a relief.
Let's see what our listeners have to say about this episode. The crew arrived at the planet of the sexists. The slug gets a doctorate by interrogating a doctor, and beware of what they call space madness. Thank you, Going Metal 799.
Doc Snot's shellfish forced the crew into playing a deadly game of follow the leader on a planet where women are second-class citizens. Darko reenacts that scene from When Harry Met Sally, yes. And John shows us what he has under his skirt. Thank you, Marky See.
Transmissible celestial dementia. Ooh. Doc Snot has the only preventure. Girl power grows, bite off his nose. Sharing clams caused this whole misadventure. Thank you, Rick from the Delta Quadrant.
Oh, I think Rick has just outed themselves as a speaker of a particular accent of English where dementia and adventure happen to rhyme.
Oh, yes, very good point.
Or maybe they just think that we could do that. Jirl power, yes. Food poisoning, and who knew that I Yensch was such a mensch?
Ooh.
Oh, wow. Wow. No matter who you are in this episode, you're likely to clam up if anyone asks you about what happened here. Let's just say there's a reason Granny's not allowed in the kitchen anymore. Thanks, Danny.
It wasn't Granny's fault.
I know.
For a change.
She was the MVP of this episode. She was having so much fun.
Moya stops at a plant to obtain... planet, I suppose. A planet to obtain tech to delve into tormented space, and the crew decide to take in some local cuisine. The crew might have preferred Naranti's concoction over the new bonds created between them by the clams. In attempts to heal the crew, the men cross into unfamiliar territory and discover their inner girl powers. Thank you, Melissa. Maybe even... the uncharted territories? Or now the tormented territories in John's case?
Oh, in John's case, maybe, but not Rigel's.
No, Rigel was surprisingly comfortable.
Yeah. This is not his first rodeo. He's 700 cycles.
Fair point.
And a dandy, right?
Absolutely. He was so outraged about John's comment on the color purple. You should have been too, I suppose.
Yes, I was groaning on the inside. Oh, Oh, a contribution from our new friend of the show, Mark Nixon. Oh. Do you remember from a few episodes ago, Shadows at the Door, the atmospheric horror podcast, where we featured a little clip from the upcoming 3rd season?
Oh, yes, with Lani Tupu.
Lani Tupu. And Mark Nixon, who is a fantastic horror writer in his own right, has graced us with a contribution. I don't know exactly how I managed to be surprised by that, because I do vet all of these, but I don't remember this at all. I must have just clicked okay because it's Mark. Hello, Mark. A luncheon proves unforgettable. Vegan bobs are neglected, and we finally see what someone's been hiding up their skirt. Yes, very good. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, hit it.
I feel like we're going to do like a really good job on this episode, Kate.
I think we are. So, we have a quick recap, and then we are on to the crew having a meal that they're not enjoying.
Their food's overcooked, undercooked, and not worth cooking. Makes Naranti's food seem edible.
They're complaining. I mean, they have plenty to eat, but it's not a get with anybody's taste.
No, they're all sort of complaining about it.
This food is drab.
I'll agree to that.
Kind of reminds me of a big bowl of Alpo I once ate.
And, like, you can... I really miss the center chamber set.
Ah, yes.
Because they just don't have a galley anymore, and that's why they're eating in the maintenance bay.
Oh, is that it? Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, well, I wonder what happened to that set then. But yes, like weird, like big not conch shells, but like huge clamshell noodles are being served, I suppose. I didn't recognize it as either being clams or noodles at the time. It was just like weird.
It's just sort of extruded snot.
Big balls. Because they have arrived at a planet in tormented space, and in order to alleviate both Moya and Pilot's discomfort at, I guess, the torment of space.
Pilot, how bad is it?
Without additional Zintian filtration, the electrostatic impulses from surrounding radiation sources would drive her mad. Moya has not had peaceful rest since we entered the tormented space.
Yeah, radiation sources that are causing noise, and like Moya hasn't been able to take a rest.
And she needs a filter. And this can be done on the planet, except the people on the planet are very nervous about space madness, or what is it called again? Space sickness, space something like the other.
Transmissible celestial dementia.
That's the one. Good one.
If I'm going for the correct pronunciation, as we've just learned.
And they need to be checked out by a local doctor.
Played by... Let's see if I can do this. Oh, my notes are over there, but they're away from microphone range. Oh, it's Barry Otto. A renowned Australian actor, but we probably know him best as Miranda Otto's dad, and she played Éowyn in the Lord of the Rings films.
Okay, I don't know the dad of an actor in the Lord of the Rings films, but fair enough.
Well, that's what he looks like.
Oh.
Except for the nose, of course.
I mean, did he? So wait, hang on. Is he the dad of the actress? Or is
wait, no. Yes, exactly. He's not in the Lord of the Rings films.
Right,
his daughter is a very good actress.
I wouldn't have recognized him
Miranda
from it then.
Otto. No, exactly.
No.
Also, under all that nose and that really weird sort of Dickensian affectation that he does.
Space madness is so feared on this planet that there are no exceptions.
Oh, I suppose so, yes.
It's so
especially
extra.
the whole rubbing his belly, which is very protruding belly.
Yeah. I guess he's one of those actors when you give him a prop.
I can imagine that. Like, okay, they made me wear this fat suit. Well, it's not really a fat suit. It's just a beer belly suit.
Yeah.
It's like, so apparently they want me to do something with this. They want this to be part of the character. So,
And I'll make it part of the character.
Yes.
Barbossa in the Pirates of the Caribbean films. Oh, I forget what the actor's name is, but like at first he wanted to be bald, or he wanted to wear a bandana and an eye patch, and then they said, no, you've got to wear a hat. And he said, I don't want to wear a hat. Then they gave him a huge brimmed hat with a beautiful black feather, and he said, okay, yeah, no, the hat's me.
Fair, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm taking that hat.
John and Scorpius come into the doctor's office.
Yeah, it
at the
seems
same
like
time.
John's escorting Scorpy to do it first, and then...
And there's a little bit of weirdness because the doctor says, like, oh, he's already been cleared, but because he's part Scarran, he's not allowed on the planet.
Yeah, and back you go then.
Yep.
Like it's
to his, a little bit to Scorpius' chagrin. He doesn't seem to be very pleased with the goings on.
How are you feeling about like seeing Scorpius like this? Like he's been brought down low earlier this season, and I mean now he's just their gimp kind of, right?
He is proving himself. He is working. He is accepting the fact that he does not have their trust, and he is working at achieving that.
Right.
Scorpius is proving his usefulness. He knows he is in with this crowd, and the only way that he can get ahead is by being the best he can be towards them.
And tolerating their nonsense, and
And, accepting the fact that they don't trust him, and that,
the stakes are so low. They're so low. Why are we even bothering with any of this?
Yes, there's a little bit of skull measuring from the doctor, and
he's got these giant calipers.
Yes, but there's a whole science about skull measuring, isn't there?
I wouldn't call it science.
Well,
I think you're talking about phrenology.
That's the one. Yes.
Yes, and science it was not.
No, fair enough. They attempted it. They'd try and make a show of it. I suppose that's the best you could do. It was the kind of science where they already know the conclusion and are trying to find evidence to match the...
Yes, a phenomenon that I believe is called scientism, and it's related to scientifically cloaked sexism and racism and various other forms of discrimination for which the scientific method can be misused and has been throughout history.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Unfortunately, probably in some circles continues to be.
Yes.
Certainly on this planet of the sexists, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, first the doctor, I love his, examination contraption.
I love everything!
That scene must have taken... I wonder how many shots they had to take that scene in when the mechanism didn't exactly fold over the right way, and that probably took a few takes.
He's got this wondrous headgear that's sort of like a head mirror and like a lens that with this extending arm that goes over one eye, and then this mechanical iris.
And it goes over the other eye than you would expect initially.
Yeah, it crosses over like a little surprise.
Yes, and then we get a reverse Total Recall scene with John.
Hey, look, I know you guys lie and all, but this is not going to hurt too bad, is it?
Not a bit.
Where he gets his probe jammed up his nose, which lights up his entire, sinus cavity, I suppose.
Skull, it looks like. And he screams and screams and screams.
Which apparently was a bet going, or at least they had a poll going between the crew members. And Dargo's like,
if you had held your scream off one more micron, I would have won the pool.
Too bad.
Apparently they have bets about how long he can sustain his screams.
Was it the screaming or when he started screaming? I'm not entirely sure what they were betting on.
But soon we already see the crux of the episode, which is two people are seen eating from similar mollusk shells, and then their faces also glow.
Yes, in different colors, which I didn't quite catch it. I caught the fact that it was different colors, but it will become soon evident what is going on, because the doctor comes in to inform them that they have all been cleared for going to the planet. And
did I forget to mention not to share the coital mollusks?
Oh, did I forget to tell you you're not supposed to do that?
He's so cackly. And unfortunately, if it's eaten by different people, you will all die.
Yes, because it turns out... Okay, let's talk about this right now so we don't have to do it later. So, you have the mollusks...
You're just like John. He doesn't want to deal with the... Okay, no. You do it.
It's going to come up time and again, so let's discuss it first, and then...
Okay.
So the mollusks
Each mollusk harbors one colony of neurally linked bacteria.
The telepathic bacterial colony that lives in these mollusks gets separated, and they start... transmitting...
communicating your emotional states to force you to merge.
Logical and emotional information back and forth to each other.
The problem is, you are not mollusks.
It's never been a problem for us before.
It is now.
Why?
Who cares?
And if they can't join up, then both hosts will die.
Your bodies, unlike the mollusk halves, can never merge. And so your symptoms worsen. And eventually the strain kills you.
All right, we understand. Fix it.
Yeah.
That's basically what it amounts to.
Because the bacteria live in mollusks, and they're expecting mollusks to sort of blend and fuse, which they're trying to motivate them to do. But... bipeds can't do that.
Doesn't really work with humans like that. So this is the main plot point. The doctor is using this. It informs them that, he'd be happy to cure them for 250,000 credit units each, which for a change doesn't seem to be the problem. They're like, here's the money.
Yeah, they're loaded.
Yeah.
They don't even care.
I guess is that from, still from hitting the shadow repository?
No, it can't be. They spent most of that money on...
I thought so, yeah. So I was wondering,
repairing
apparently money isn't an issue anymore.
Well, it's nice to be loaded.
Yeah, so that's the problem. They're being blackmailed by the doctor, who wants them to cough up, otherwise he'll let them die.
Can you imagine if this doctor was played by someone sort of less charismatic and absolutely delightful to look at? Because he gets so much exposition, some of which the characters care about, most of which the characters don't care about.
Totally not, especially John.
We'll pay double if you shut up.
Right, even as we were sort of repeating how this stuff works, like you could sort of... the ghost of John Crichton is here in the room, rolling his eyes and doing the fast-forward gesture with his fingers.
Yeah, get on with it.
Get on with it.
Yes, get on with it!
Oh, I am enjoying this scene.
Get on with it!
And here again, because they say, well, why don't we just shoot you?
Well, then you're going to die, because I am the only person with the cure. And okay,
Yes.
why don't we tell the people who are coming on board to help us? And they go oh, you don't want to do that either.
Believe you.
They wouldn't believe you, which seems odd, because apparently the mollusk's illness progression mimics this space-borne
Space madness,
space
that's
madness,
what they call it.
which turns out probably doesn't even exist, but it's only caused by the mollusks, as we learn later on.
Yes, because they're not native to this planet.
Yeah.
They've been imported by the women's resistance as an assassination method. And that's something that the doctor discovered during an autopsy, and he sold his silence in exchange for access to their assassination.
And how he's using it to blackmail crews that come aboard the planet.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It holds together really well.
It does.
But we still don't care.
We still don't care.
Do we?
Not a huge lot, no.
No. The important thing is now everybody's feeling each other's, like, bodily, it's sort of like translator microbes, but for bodily stuff.
Yes. So it very quickly people start feeling like nauseous or like getting intestinal issues or sneezing, or it's also a little bit like I Yensch, you Yensch, where where first Braca and Dargo get linked together, and later on John and Scorpius.
Because it's Dargo once again shackled to someone else, and it's Granny Naranti, and they sneeze at the same time. And let's see, John is linked to Sikozu.
Sikozu, yes,
who's just had her monthly meal, her enormous fifth portion. Like, how do you fit all that in your body?
She eats like 10 times per cycle or something like that.
Yeah,
and there's a little bit of bickering between her and Naranti about is that efficient or like gluttonous, or it's like it's a bit weird.
Yeah. And Rigel and Aaron. They're the last pairing.
Oh, dear.
Unfortunately for Aaron. And
very much unfortunately for Aaron.
What the frell is going on here? Every time Rigel vents, I vent.
It's almost Lexian in its sort of bodiliness, this episode.
Very much so, yes.
Rigel farts and Aaron farts, and...
even after Rigel excuses himself and leaves, and occasionally you just see Aaron sitting there and there's like this little fart sound. Which is like...
yeah, and she's very often just sort of sitting down and just sort of bearing it. Oh.
The only one who's spared is Chiana.
Yeah.
Because she just hadn't happened to eaten any of the clams.
Yeah. She just missed that kind of meal. Don't know what she was doing, but so
probably
she's
eating other things.
Quite cheerful when the fucking Stasi walks in. I mean,
I've got Waffen-SS written down, but yes,
right? Yes.
So we've got this guy with this like lovely Australian accent, like wearing a uniform which would not mistake in Starship Troopers or
yeah, exactly, like the Games and Theory department.
Yes.
Yeah, or. You know, certain types of Berlin nightclubs where certain types of people have certain types of fun. Where they wear those sort of police hats and the black leather gloves and black leather everywhere. Oh God, I should tell you I read some of the behind the scenes stuff about this, which was just great. I mean, it was Ian Watson who was talking about like him and David Kemper had been talking about an emotion swap episode for quite a while.
Yeah.
And so this felt appropriate as Ian Watson's last directing episode.
Oh, okay.
As it turned out. But also, like, the nightclub scene was filmed near King's Cross in Australia, which before the lockout laws was a rather a rowdy nightlife kind of area.
Okay.
And so Claudia Black talked about, like, in between scenes, I just went off with my friend, the makeup artist, and we just went across the street to have some coffee in a cafe, and I could just wear my black leathers, and it was fine. Yeah. Right, it was fine. It sort of felt like playing hooky from school. Because you just go out in daylight in her leathers.
Regular outfit. It's like Chana, sorry, I can't think of her name. Like Gigi Edley, yeah, like sneaking off to have a ciggy with Keanu Reeves behind the studio.
Yeah.
Although that was season 1.
Blessed season 1. We remember it so well, but
yes.
She still had that way worse wig, or worse for her anyway.
He shows up with a mechanic, a tomboyish character who is apparently the mechanic who's going to fix the filter into Moya's system. There's a quick little bit of exchange where Sikozu again demonstrates her knowledge of Leviathans, because the mechanic goes like, it has to be mounted in the central processing node or whatever, and Sikozu goes like, no, anyone will do as long as we reroute the systems around it while you're doing the installation.
Which she can do from pilot's quarters.
Which there's a little bit of an annoyed look from the mechanic because I got found out. Like, I want to have a snoop around.
Probably.
And while everybody is like dealing with their discomfort, Shiana and the mechanic go off to do the installation.
So I'd forgotten the sort of sexism plot of this episode, and I just completely forgot that we're supposed to think that this mechanic character is male.
Yes.
Because, like, she's a handsome-looking woman. She just has short hair. Like, I know a lot of short-haired women.
I know, right? It didn't particularly clue me as being male. I mean, it was, like I said, tomboyish, but that's...
Yeah, which is...
Actually, I have it written down as as NB mechanic, which is the best way that I could describe it.
Yeah. As in, I mean, it's always tricky and fraught, and yet sometimes societally necessary to assume someone's gender in order to address them with forms of dress when you're trying to be polite. And it sucks when you get it wrong, and then you do better. But yeah, like in our modern society, when we encounter someone providing these signals, we might assume a they/them pronoun until they provide us with otherwise. Unfortunately, that turns out not to be the case. It turns out to be a case where women are second-class citizens.
Let me explain the socio-political situation on Khurtanan. As you may know, females are oppressed here, but there is a resistance movement planning a violent coup to seize power.
Girl power, so what?
And she is a woman who has disguised herself as a man in order to be able to
become a mechanic.
A forbidden profession for women.
Women in my world aren't allowed to do this sort of work. Sure.
Well, let's go with she, because like it is a woman who is not who's just masquerading as a man for business purposes. Is kind of disturbed by how Chana is keeping close attention on her, and Chana's like, what if I just think you're cute?
I had that written down as well. Oh, she's cute. It gave me big Hubero vibes.
Hubero?
Oh, they were the androgen Nabari who came aboard in Fracture
yes, a little
as
bit.
well.
Yeah.
Because they were also off doing engineering shit together.
Sikozu was on the bridge helping pilots shut down the paths to whatever.
Diverting now.
No, it would be more efficient if you simply
I do not need your help.
Inverting the polarity to the neutron flow.
Much to pilot chagrin. It's like, I don't need any help, even though she's like holding onto his claw, trying to guide him to the button that she wants him to press. And
he just sort of smacks her hand. No.
Yes.
No. We get a gorgeous shot of this planet. It's called it looks like a...
It looks like a leftover shot from the Planet of the Dead people. It looks very much like that with a little bit of fly cars thrown in.
I had a feeling of the Budon corpse from Home on the Remains.
It's how it starts when they fly by the asteroid and then they dive into that pit. Because people are going to see the doctor. They're sitting in the doctor's office. There's a very classic scene they're doing where the nurses... I noticed that as well, yes. And the receptionist is just sitting there going like, the doctor's not in right now. He'll see you as soon as he's available. And they're like, we're going to see him now. And like more physical discomfort from everybody, which is played up for laughs.
Yeah, they love it.
Until the doctor arrives, who is immediately basically accosted by the crew.
May I speak?
No. Cure first, speak later.
Let me explain the Quatal mollusk.
Please don't. We give up. We'll pay.
Doctor explains exactly what we talked about.
He's even got a hologram. He's got like a PowerPoint set up.
Yes.
He was waiting for... He's probably like working on the slides while they were waiting for him. And they don't want to hear it. They just want the solution. Like, okay, money's coming. We don't even care about the money. Oh, cool hologram. Explaining all this stuff.
Yeah, we'll pay you double if you fix. Now there's a whole lot of back and forth. And the doctor says, like, well, I only have one mollusk left, so I can only fix the people who had the purple one.
Yes, because apparently colours matter on this planet as well.
I mean, it seems to make sense. Fine. Like maybe it's like male and female mollusks, and you can only,
biology be like that.
Yeah, which turns out to be Granny and Dargo.
Yes, and we cut back and forth to Naranti, who's still on the ship with her chemistry set. She's gotten samples, various bodily samples.
She's doing the whole. I love cooking with wine. Sometimes I even put it in the food thing.
To which you can really relate. You have that late in a bake where you're just sort of dancing around the kitchen, like the smells are coming in great, and your guests are about to arrive.
And she turns on the little, one of those shaker devices to separate mixtures or getting them to, mix properly.
Right.
And she has a little moment with it.
I didn't understand. I mean, she's clearly having. It's just masturbating. Right, she's having herself a little.
Right in the shot before that, like there's this actual shaker device, which she loads something into, and then the rest of the scene, you can kind of see her leaning over that same table. In my opinion, heavily implying that that's what she's grinding up against.
Oh hell yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I don't think that she fully understands. Oh no, she does understand how the mechanism works at this point.
I'm pretty sure she does.
Yeah, so she should also infer that she's, I guess, enforcing these feelings on somebody else as well.
But I don't think she really cares that much.
No, she's just having a great time. You see her third eye open, and change
doing a little bit of color flashing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh.
And of course,
so much.
Dargo is having the similar sensations, which is another fantastic acting job by John Simcoe.
D, what's up? Nothing. It's Naranti.
Is she in pain?
Anthony Simcoe. He always loves these moments. Just any time because Dargo is such a great vessel for comedy. Right? He's so uptight and sensitive and overcompensating. And the Tenkas also make for great mimicry. So he's having a time. And everybody else is being very unsporting. Like, he even approaches John at one point. Hey, could you... And I don't know what he's going to ask.
Yeah.
I hesitate also to look up any fanfic that would answer that question because I don't think it would be within the rating of this podcast.
Probably not, no.
And John goes, hey, you enjoy that over there. And yeah, they go full Harry Met Sally. Until... And what does Dargo say? Like she blew it or something.
I don't remember.
Oh, wait, hold on.
She lost it.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yes.
You're going to have a lot of editing to do this episode. I'm sorry, but... And he punishes her with the same way...
basically smacking his own head into a bench.
Just like he did with Braca. Okay. So they have the cure, which unfortunately is quite involved. It has to be mixed with a bit of the original mollusk, a bit of the partner's urine.
Yes.
You have to ingest it at the same time and then hold physical contact.
Yes, skin-to-skin contact, which the doctor mentions now, and it later turns out to be quite a bit longer than he originally implied.
He gives so much exposition, but he doesn't tell them the really important information that they need until it's actually happening.
Right, yes. Which is like, I mean, if you're a manipulative bastard like that doctor is, probably a standard modus operandi. We get a fantastic scene with Scorpius and the Waffen-SS officer with his lovely Australian accent, who is he gets a little bit when they're talking about Moya and how he's concerned about hygiene and oh no, Moya's self-cleaning, she's really good like that, and she, and he's a little bit taken back that it's a female ship, but
Scorpius is right there,
right?
But only controlled by pilot, a male, of course. Okay, that's not so bad.
So, that's fine then. That's nice. I'm like, like me some males, don't you? And it's I'm getting Very homosexual vibes from the officer there.
This one as well.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be a thing. I mean, I can imagine in a society where women are considered second-rate citizens, if that gets to the point that they are just considered inferior, I can just imagine that, like, the guys get it on with each other a little bit much.
That's very valid. I once read an article by a journalist whose name, again, escapes me. This is a trend with me lately. But she went to to Saudi Arabia to interview gay Saudis.
Yeah.
Right, and how gay men, that subculture sort of survives there. And she was being driven around by her contract, which was kind of dangerous. And whenever there was a checkpoint, they got really, really nervous because she is an unmarried woman and he's an unmarried man, and they're in a same car together.
Yes.
And so that was the context that they gave. Like, me driving you around is a far bigger risk than me hanging around with other dudes in a hammam, which is like totally okay because we're not segregated from each other.
Exactly. Yeah, as long as you're in the right hammam.
Right, exactly. Or like wherever. At least this was, I don't dare to speak for someone else's nation and experience, but this is what I read in that article. So yeah, it's probably a lot easier for dude-inclined dudes and lady-inclined ladies to, have themselves a little bit of, what do you call it? Centrifuge time? Keep it in PG-13.
Well, let's see. Where does it go from there?
Yes. They have two more mollusks, which are just about to arrive, and he goes out to take receipt, but instead he receives
a shot in the chest.
And he's dead.
Well...
Until we come out of the commercials. I mean, he's dead before we go to the commercials. Then he comes back out. In proper Farscape tradition of, oh no, an unsolvable problem, and you come back from commercials and it's been solved. Off we go. He's fine.
So he's just been shot in the chest. The doctor's feeling a little bit poorly. Blah, blah on the ship where I guess it's Dargo. Oh yeah, it's Dargo and Granny who are like starting off the cure process.
Did you see how Naranti is squatting over a
bucket?
And she's got like 3 colors of pee that are coming out at more or less the same time.
I didn't notice the different colors.
Ben Browder's idea there. Classy gent, that Ben.
They exchange glasses. There's a little cheers. Hold hands. Oh, this is where we hear from the doctor that they have to like keep holding hands, probably for a few hours.
No more than that.
You see, the cure unbinds the bacteria from your cells and tricks the colony into
one more word of technobabble, and I'm going to cut your tongue out.
There's a little bit of purple glow going on their faces.
And they test whether it still works, and he tests it.
Yes.
Braca style by punching her.
Isn't that later?
I think it already happens here.
Oh, okay.
But they have to... Yeah, because they have
and
to
basically she reciprocates by giving him a titty twister. I believe a purple nurple is the appropriate one, especially since they had the purple mollusk.
Clams, yes.
Which, now I can connect this to the scene that we saw earlier. It was the first time we saw the purple flash going over their face. This was right at the beginning of the episode.
Yep.
When they were talking to Pilot. And that's when I realized we haven't seen Pilot in one of his clamshells anytime recent.
Oh, wow.
They've completely phased out that hologram Pilot
They
thing.
really have, haven't they?
Yeah.
In fact, I can't remember the last time that we saw that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yes.
I mean, it must have been a very expensive special effect to do.
I suppose, yeah.
And, you don't need it, but
I guess not.
Do kind of, Now I'm just sitting here thinking, are we ever going to see it again?
Who knows?
Oh, it was so far into the series. Like you can never go home again.
Well, you've been doing a job with this. I mean, I guess you've got like taken me to your old home.
I have indeed.
Is what we're doing in this whole podcast series.
I feel quite at home in tormented space, and I'm so glad to finally be able to take you there with me. But okay, so they're dealing with this situation now where they're having to hold hands for essentially ever. So they're out of the episode.
Yes. More guns are being pointed at the Doctor, which seems to be a running thing in this episode. There's a lot of guns being pointed at the Doctor.
He's completely unafraid.
He is, because like if he dies, they die, because he has the cure, and that's it.
He's doing all these wonderful things with like his fingers and his hands and drubbing on his belly, like you say. Yeah. He's having such a good time with that fat suit. Okay, back on the ship, we have the confrontation. You are actually a girl.
Oh. Which didn't seem to put her off that much.
No. But, I mean, Chiana's actually kind of quite rude about it by just, like, slamming the mechanic up against the wall, ripping off her bodice, and, like, just honking her lymph nodes or whatever.
I'm fine. Sure you are.
Sister.
Also, kind of presumptive.
Me and the Mivonks, then we get like almost this mirror scene of John and Erin in their first encounter.
Oh, very good.
What is your rank and regiment?
I don't think you're here to help us. I think you're here to spy on us.
But there's a little bit of exchange, and it doesn't take Gianna long to figure out that, like, okay, yeah, women oppressed, this is like what she's doing, like, best job she can do.
Okay, maybe you're not lying.
Oh, you're a rebel from a garbage planet.
Oh, well, no.
Oh, well, that's like Gianna has a type, and that is it. Hell yeah, G.
Very good point.
But they bond. I mean, I really like that they
do.
You know, it's not just sex for Gianna. I don't even know if she favors women. It's hard to imagine that
Her being very discriminating in that regard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She actually connects with a mechanic, and they get the job done from Moya.
Yeah, she can get down with an oppressed woman. That's more ways. Yes.
Yikes!
More bonding is going on between Naranti and Dargo.
I'm afraid the boy may be run for life.
I'm almost jealous.
Much to Dargo's thirst, because he's like Naranti's kind of like cuddled up to him, and he's trying to get his cup. He wants his drink.
I know his sippy cup is over there, and he can't get. I don't know why he's so bothered by waking her.
I don't know. I mean, he's talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, this is good," and like he can just pick her up and like get his drink.
Yeah,
he's talking to her while this is happening.
Erin's taken a seat in one of the weird sort of doctor's chairs. Hey, this whole set, by the way, I absolutely loved. It put me in mind of like Terry Gilliam films.
Yes, a little bit Brazilish.
Right, this
very
would be
much,
a dentist's office from Brazil.
Yeah.
Film, not the nation.
Oh, yes.
Yes, okay.
I mean, sorry, if we say Terry Gilliam and Brazil in the same breath, then I assume we're talking about the movie.
One assumes. Okay, so Sikozu arrives with the money, but it's not enough because they need 2 more clams, and Erin says, okay, we'll take care of that.
We're going to go get the girl power.
She says, in fact...
Jirl power.
Jirl power.
Jirl, yes. And like John is like, stop speaking English. He is much regretting the fact that he's been teaching her that, as it seems.
Because they need to retrieve it from a nightclub that is run by women for high-ranking men.
Yes.
Those high-ranking men all know each other.
Yes, so they can't go in they can't send the boys in, so it has to be the girls.
Because they can blend in, supposedly.
Yes.
Which seems like a hugely risky endeavor for 2 unattended women to go away on a planet that is known to be hugely sexist.
But, Erin can probably take care of herself, and Sikozu is also...
That's the problem. That's the problem that I'm concerned about. She's not... I was going to say she's not stealthy, but she was an assassin for a while. But anyway.
Yeah.
John and Rigel are left behind with the doctor, but oh no, a patient arrives.
Yes, he's been troubled by his, what was it again? His inflamed Zergenbobs?
Inflamed Zergenbobs, you say?
Oh, very good. Let me see. Mark Nixon actually wrote it down.
Yeah.
Zergenbobs is exactly right. Like his Zergenbobs are acting up again.
That's what you get for neglecting them.
And he wants to see the doctor right away.
Doctor's a bit tied up, as John says.
To meet at the colon convention.
But fortunately, Rigel to the rescue. He is like put on a lab coat, smeared some blood over it. He's completely wrongly wearing the examination piece that the doctor had, and he's like, "Oh, I'm Dr. Rigel."
He's so he just loves dress up.
I guess he does. Yes.
Right. He's in panto mode.
I mean, I was really admiring Rigel in this episode for being very brave and resourceful and like being out there. It's like he is like miles away from the Rigel that he used to be.
I am a dominar of action.
But yes, basically, take off your clothes and we'll have a look. And like you've clearly been neglecting your Zerkenbobs if they've gotten inflamed.
He does the eye thing again. It comes over his eye, and he's super happy with it. The patient is not so much.
But he leaves basically.
Amps great, and now we see the girls have arrived at the club.
Yes,
where
they're going like they're playing the girl angle. Like, oh, we're girls, you're girls. Let's work this out.
We have heard that she's trying to improve conditions on this planet for females.
It's a worthy cause. Causes need currency. So we'd like to discuss a business deal.
The planet girls are not having any of it. They're like, yeah, we're just going to capture you and tie you up.
Yeah, and they're trying to be like they're treating these revolutionary women kind of in the same way that John's been treating the doctor. Like, okay, your whole socioeconomic and thing, we don't care. It's really simple. You've got clams. We have unlimited money.
Yes.
So you just name a number and you get, right, and we just do this and off we go.
And they're like, no, we're not having any of that. That puts the resistance in a bit of a pickle because now they have Sikozu and Eren captured, but they can't kill them because if they kill them, then they kill the bacterial organism that's in there and that apparently frees the other half of the party.
Yeah.
Killing them will only cure whoever it is they're linked with.
Leaving them free to take revenge. However, if we keep our captives alive,
then their partners will be drawn here,
where they can all die at once.
I imagine that the writers had a bit of a, like, originally there was going to be, but if one of you dies, the other dies. And then they realized, we've put one in peril. They just kill them. They just kill them straight away. There's no reason to keep them alive.
Yes. So, that solves it nicely. So they instead go do a little bit of torture, which Sikozu very bravely volunteers for, essentially, or basically goads them into torturing her rather than Eren.
I thought it was so good because it was like, we're going to cut off one of your fingers.
Yeah.
And then eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And then she picks Sikozu. And like Eren pitches a fit.
Leave her alone. I brought her here. She has nothing to do with this. Shut up. Fine.
Yeah.
Like jumping into her defense. Like, no, me. And then Sikozu pitches a fit as well. And Eren's like, what are you doing? I was trying to save you. Yeah. Your extremities don't attach.
No,
they don't
reattach. Yeah, so that's. I mean, I call it like in the episode. It takes a little bit longer for her to ask that question, but I immediately caught on to that. Which I mean, it's still
good memory.
You're suffering through that thing, so it's still a thing. But
it's still awful. And obviously nobody wants that. Like, I mean, your fingernails regrow, but you don't want one.
No, definitely not.
I'm not even going to finish that sentence, having recently flipped one back.
Oh.
This was unfortunate.
So, they know the girls have been captured, so the only option is now go into the club themselves. Rigel goes on a wonderful shopping spree.
Comes back with a beautiful sort of purple velour number for John.
And a bra.
Well, ain't no way in hell I'm wearing that.
Have I spent an hour shopping for nothing?
He is so dismissive about, like, these clothes. No, absolutely not.
Well, I ain't going as Maid Marian, and look at that. That is not a slimming color. Black is a slimming color. Maybe if it was black, but
I wear that color all the time.
This was played a bit broad, wasn't it?
It was very much so.
Like, speaking of panto, a certain aspect of British theatre culture where the height of comedy is a bloke in a dress.
Especially considering how Ben Browder looks later on. Like, in this next scene afterwards, when he's like, they've like put some nice thick makeup on his face. You can still see a bit of his 5 o'clock shadow underneath.
Just a little bit, but it's kind of dusky.
It is a little bit, and he's got
like
weird dress. And like, I mean, I wish I could have seen Ben Browder versus Christian Bale in Velvet Goldmine. Like, them playing two uncertain teenagers exploring. Like, I'm going to go write a fanfic. Right, hang on. I'll be right back.
Wow. Yes, that would be amazing.
Because it's really that look.
It is. In drag, right? The art form of drag, which is these sort of hyper real, sort of feminine characters that are created. Not even caricatures. It's its own thing. So that's sort of one direction. Then there is the. There are so many different directions for cross-dressing to go, depending on what one like.
And especially, if we go to Velvet Goldmine, like the 70s, where like the non-binary look was much more popular. Mm-hmm. And that combined with actually the nightclub itself and the music, it kind of reminded me of, like, not quite the space dance from Buck Rogers in the... but it did have connotations in that same direction.
A little bit. Yeah. Like, there was all these lights going on. There was all this furniture that I thought I remembered from Tim Ferrier's house when we went there in season 3 with Jirl.
Oh, yes.
The sort of gland milking.
Yeah. And Rigel dressed up as a wedding cake.
He totally is a wedding cake. And he's rocking it, and it's so good. He's so happy. Oh, we made it through. Yes, no problem.
Blend in. How we got here, the clock stopped. We couldn't blend in on Bud Ugly Night.
He's got this, like, tiara. He's also got his makeup is a little bit different. It's really well done.
Yes.
He's got these highlights
so I'm wondering,
on the
like,
sides of his
it
eyes.
looks the way he moves, because apparently he's supposed to have his throne slut underneath there.
Yes.
But I think that's just, like, some per bloke. I mean, I wonder how many people are underneath that, still trying to like shuffle along. Like we don't have to bother with the throne set. We just put a dress and some hoops over it, so everything's hidden under that.
Oh yeah.
So there's probably just several people shuffling underneath that, still trying to animate Rigel.
I think it's just Fiona Gentle. Fiona Gentle's the operator for Rigel at this point.
That would have made it easier. Because, you don't have to bother with the throne sled. You can hide everything under the dress.
Yeah.
It's all a fact.
Hey, I read on one of the trivia pages that you can see Fiona Gentle's head in one of the early scenes when they're having dinner.
Oh.
I looked at the GIFs and I looked at the episode. I couldn't see it. Fiona Gentle was doing fantastic. I've got a story about her coming up as well.
Okay.
But, like, I love Rigel's makeup and John's makeup. It's really well done. To sort of accentuate, like even as he was walking down the street from the trailers to the nightclub where this was being filmed in King's Cross, like construction workers were whistling at him.
I mean, and this is okay. So then, in the next shot, he basically gets his ass grabbed by one of the fairly hyper masculine guys who are running there, and like on one hand, I mean, I can understand why they take a shot like that. But on the other hand, I get a little bit of the feeling like sexism is only bad when it happens to dudes. Experience it as a woman,
Yeah.
That it doesn't quite feel like that, but I get a little bit of a feeling in that scene.
Once again, it's the very early 2000s.
Yeah.
Right? It's that exploring aspects of sexual relations in our society that hadn't really been examined in science fiction before.
Yeah.
Which was progressive for its time and kind of,
I mean, I
almost
guess
there
for the time it was like, maybe I'm being uncharitable, but the only way you can get people to care about it if it's being experienced by one of the male characters.
Yeah.
And
like
in that regard, it's a way and a method of actually bringing this to the foreground. And then as time progresses, like maybe people can appreciate it when it's, or not appreciate it, gather meaning from it happening when it's like actually happening to women.
I mean, Star Trek tried that in its first season, where you had a planet that was sexist toward men.
Yes,
and that people had to experience that. Where I really appreciated how William Riker treated it. Like he had to go speak to one of the leaders, and that meant that he had to wear a very revealing tunic, which the girls tittered at on the Enterprise, and he was kind of outraged. Hey, you're supposed to be professionals. I look great in a deep V.
Yes.
You should have seen me on this other planet. I had to wear feathers then. It was awesome.
Or you just go to a Betazoid wedding.
Yes. Oh, yeah, because his butt does get grabbed.
What do we got here? Oh, I love a powerful woman.
And I think for the first time ever, I'm not entirely sure, Ben Browder just barrels the camera, looks straight down there and says,
"You put your hand on my ass again, and I will kill you."
Yes. Meanwhile, back on Moya...
Oh, yes, there we are.
Scorpius is still walking around with the captain, who just happens to overhear Chana and our tech talking
about how she's actually a woman, and she's really summarizing this is Exposition Planet. Everybody's doing it.
I mean, like I said, this has been an ongoing thing in this season.
Yeah.
It's like people just talk about stuff in front of people that they shouldn't. In this case, they didn't know they were there. But yes, he comes down, he whips out his gun, goes like,
"You're under arrest. So put the tools down and strip."
Yes, I want to see this for myself.
Yikes.
Shana steps right in front of her.
Hey, leave her alone.
Much to her credit. And of course, I was just waiting for the moment where it's going to happen. And yes, indeed, like just as she's about to shoot, Scorpius has also come down the ladder and just basically breaks his neck.
Effortlessly, and then goes, "Continue your work. Moving on.
Keep going."
As if he has some sort of plan to straighten this out with the planet, which totally never comes up again.
Nope, not at all.
Absolutely nobody. Okay, fine.
This guy is not missed.
Some police state we have.
Yeah. Back in the club, a guy which I admit did not immediately recognize as being the same guy who showed up in the doctor's office earlier.
Yeah, him and the inspector on Moya both have the same sort of outfit. And
yes, starts hitting on John.
"Isn't this nice? With the right partner, I could do it all night."
I really don't think I'm the right partner for you.
Once again, his Zergan bulbs are inflamed, and John tries to turn his face away because he recognizes this guy from the doctor's office, and this is pretty bad news.
It's like, "Oh, don't you talk? Oh, I just don't dance." "I do," and he gets grabbed and pulled along.
John even does a voice.
"Darling, I don't dance.
Yes.
He does.
Well, he's mostly a whisperer.
Yeah, but he does the British accent that he did when he infiltrated the Gamak base as well.
Oh, okay.
Rather identify yourself?
On an open channel? I don't think so. If you want to count my teeth, do it after I land.
Darling, I don't dance. I was like, okay.
Fair point, yes.
And so they're out there dancing.
But Ben Brown's an American. Yeah,
yes, he is.
He's not Australian, yeah. Okay.
And he's dancing with this Waffen-SS fella
Mm-hmm.
while the wedding cake is floating around and, finds some clams.
Looking for the mollusks, yes.
I am going to murder me some, oysters or mussels tonight.
Just don't share them with anybody.
No, there's no risk of that. I'm very
Fair
selfish
point.
when it comes to my food.
You're very shellfish when it comes to...
Oh, you... but so the women revolutionaries devise a test. Well, if we harm one of them, then we can see who their allies are out in the club. Because they probably have allies who are coming.
Well, that's just, I had that written down. It's that's kind of a big assumption to make that those allies are going to be in the club.
Yeah,
I mean, happens to make sense, but it's like, okay, who says they're going to be there?
But this whole revolution doesn't matter to us or the plot at all.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, more power to them. Obviously, any repression deserves to be fought, but it's just not it just doesn't matter to our heroes.
No,
Shut up!
There's a little bit more light torture, or maybe it's the second stage of the Moloch effect, which is starting to hit them, which is making John dance around a little bit while he's dancing with the officer.
And then Sikozu's finger is cut off. That happens here.
Is this where it happens? Right,
yeah.
Yes. And that's why John is cringing in agony because, he feels everything that Sikozu feels.
Yep. And I think her name is Selva. She's the leader of the resistance, or at least of this cell.
Right.
Is in the dance floor, and she doesn't notice anything amiss. So John's doing a very good job, as is Rigel, until Rigel says, I'm overwhelmed with fear and my extremities are tied. I'm going to take these mollusks back to the doctor. I'm terrified.
Yes, he's out of there. He's like, I've done my job. Bye.
Ditching John once again. Well, ditching. I mean, he did do his job.
Fair enough. I mean, it is important that those mollusks get to the doctor.
Yeah.
And he is abandoning John here, but he is also doing it. He's actually got a good excuse.
He really does, because they came here with 3 goals: get in the door, get the mollusks, get the girls.
Yes.
So job done, but we see Eren and Sikozu succumbing much more and more to these symptoms. That
yes,
apparently
it's hitting them.
Madness.
It's hitting them much harder than it is John and Rigel. And apparently Scorpius is aware of this happening because he has devised a plan in which he also goes to eat those 2 mollusks, the green and the yellow one, which are still left over.
Are you certain that once you've linked with the others, you can endure their symptoms and delay their deterioration?
Certain? No. Confident? Yes.
I love this performance by Wayne Pygram, by the way. It's a fantastic bit of...
it's so extra.
Monologue acting, I suppose.
It's so goth.
Yeah.
He goes into his cell where he closes the door, and he's set up these sort of sconces on the floor.
Yeah, very everything for a performance.
Exactly, carrying these shells and placing the shells down and then placing them on the floor and then kneeling down in this perfectly symmetrical spotlight from above. And,
yes.
Oh, and then making such a show of holding the green conch shell and the green and
such a drama queen.
Because his hypothesis is that he can eat these, absorb some of the effects of the bond, and thereby mitigate the others.
Yes, which seems, a bit of a long shot, but fair enough.
Don't know why he's so intense, because even when Pilot asks him a totally reasonable question, he sort of barks at him and presumably scare him.
Yeah.
There's still no response from...
So it helps a little bit, I guess.
It allows Sikozu and Eren to go back to functioning. At the same time, we see a little goodbye scene between Shana and the tech, who is like, are you going to be okay? Yeah, I'll be fine. I'll just get a new identity. I've done it before. It'll be fine.
Probably one of the better job.
Bye.
You're a frowning optimist.
Hard to be revolutionary if you're not.
Wow. Way to diffuse with some carefully built up tension.
I know, right? Also, don't forget, the Waffen SS guy that I came on board with, nobody's going to ask about that, where he suddenly went. No.
Hey, good for her, though. She takes off her wig. She's got her nice long hair that she enjoys. She looks fantastic, this actress.
Meanwhile, things are getting hot and heavy between John and the officer.
Who is so flirty, like, oh, he's really putting the moves on.
No, really, I should go powder my face.
I think you look beautiful just as you are.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. The moment I saw you in the doctor's office.
And then he reveals,
that he knows entirely who is. And it doesn't stop him from putting rules. Like I was saying, more of the homosexual tendencies that we see between the men on this planet.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
If only they had better outlets and just a better sort of structure. Hey,
I'm going to. The one thing I love more than dancing is interrogating, and I am going to interrogate you hard and long.
Reminded me of that song from Eurovision Fire Saga with Will Ferrell. Ya, ya, ding dong, my love for you is growing wide and long.
Rigel manages to get the doctor to whip up another potion.
By biting off his nose.
He's up to his old tricks again.
My nose. You bit off my nose.
There's plenty left.
This was brilliant, by the way, because in order to pull off this gag, Fiona Gentle, the puppeteer, had to do some sleight of hand to actually reach up through Rigel's mouth while puppeteering him,
pull the nose off,
pull the prosthetic off, and get her hand out of Rigel's mouth so she could continue puppeteering without her fingers getting mashed.
Damn!
And so she did that so effectively, and she sort of hid that giant prosthetic in her pocket, and then they wrapped for the day. And then the next day, her partner had just done the laundry and
was there a nose in the washing?
And she kept it on her mantle.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, if you don't miss it after a day, it's yours, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Oh, okay. So the doctor is motivated to there's more sort of grossness because he's got this green slime dripping out of his nose stump. Which is a bit better than the KY that had been running out of his nose this whole time.
Yeah, that was I really hate snotty noses, so that's
But Scorpius has done his job, and enough of the symptoms have been absorbed that the Jirls can get the drop on the revolutionaries.
Yes, more kicking and fighting.
Well done. And now I think we're all in the club hiding from the guards because all the doors are guarded by these women in what is presumably mandatory servile dress.
They're all wearing this weird crown-like thing. It looks all very, I don't know, medieval. You know?
I was thinking that Maid Marian's Lady in Waiting.
Yes, that kind of look, very much that.
What's it called, Madame Cluck?
Clucky? Oh, Lady Cluck.
Lady Cluck.
Yes.
in the Disney's Robin Hood. That kind of vibe, and seeing so many of them. Covering all the exits sort of made them look a little bit like fembots.
It reminded me mostly of Westworld, actually, in the medieval world series, the original movie, not the.
Oh no,
not
I still haven't seen it with Yul Brynner.
Ah, yes, that's the one. So yeah, the medieval dress. A lot of the women are kind of dressed in the same pastel colors and always with the high headdresses and everything like that.
Well, there's
very much
fembots
like that.
for you.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Fembots.
So yes, John jumps up on the table and goes "Would you like to see what I have under my dress?"
Do any of you have one of these under your skirt?
No.
I bet none of you has this under their dress.
And he lifts up his skirt, and apparently, in the original script, he was supposed to just flash them.
Okay.
And Ben Browder said, well, I had another suggestion, which was ultimately more entertaining for everyone, although I never did get to find out what kind of prosthetic they would have whipped up in the creature shop.
Ah, yes.
For the actual flashing, because he has thigh holsters.
Yes, he draws out Winona and her girlfriend.
Oh, that's so awesome. He looks great in garters.
He does. Very much so.
Fine legs.
Better than that lass in the Scottish Parliament the other day.
The what now?
Oh, there was some turf in the Scottish Parliament who flashed everybody in the assembly there because she was protesting against some turf bullshit.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Turf is a slur, and they deserve it.
Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It wasn't, but now it is because they decided to interpret this like that. So now we'll use it as such. Yes.
So for those who are unaware, TERF stands for
trans-exclusionary radical feminist.
Yes. So a particular sect of feminism that has an unreasonable hatred towards trans people. I kind of like the alternative. So instead of being trans-exclusionary feminist, I mean, they're not really feminists then.
Fair point.
Right?
Yeah.
Because trans women are women.
Yeah.
So they're feminism appropriating radical transphobes or farts.
Very good.
Good, isn't it?
We'll keep that one in there, yes.
And all's well that ends,
yes.
Shell.
John creates a panic, which causes everybody to start running out of the club. We cut to Rigel feeding the doctor one of the yellow shells. I want to say conch shells, but what are they called again? I don't know.
Mollusks.
Mollusks, just mollusks, yes.
And he's going to leave the other half outside to be eaten by flies.
Or whatever the local raccoons are called.
So he's essentially just killing this doctor, right?
Can't do that to me. I risk to differ.
Well, I mean, he's threatening him with it. We never see if he actually leaves it out there.
Oh, yes, because the doctor still needs to complete the cures for the others.
Right,
and
yes.
okay, we have that over you. Okay.
Yeah.
Dargo and Naranti finally separate because they've gotten the oily secretion on their hands.
Yes.
That signifies
and Naranti's like,
vibration.
wow, boy, hasn't done this in my hand for a long time.
It is a bunch of purple goop.
Oh, this must be analysed. No, it needs to be washed off.
I love Naranti in this whole episode.
She's fantastic,
just delighted by everything, having a little song and dance, like, ooh, now this we study.
And everyone has a little sit together where everybody ends up holding hands.
This time with cups nearby.
Yes. We fortunately skip over the peeing scene, which is like, we're kind of missing out that everybody is, like, in fact, exchanging urine here. No kink shaming, but,
Yeah, I noticed that in, like, in the Dargo and Naranti scene where Naranti just filled these cups to the brim and sort of everybody holds them carefully and, like, she goes and has to take them up. Whoop. Hygiene is a thing, although at least for human species, it's sterile.
Moya is quite hygienic. She is self-disinfecting.
And even though everybody's sitting there out in the command or in the bay or whatever it is, Scorpius is still in his room and he throws up the mollusk stuff, and end of the episode.
Yeah, a really weird come down.
Yeah.
Because I've sort of expected... I mean, why wasn't he holding hands with
I know,
anyone?
right? Why didn't they put him in there as well? Like,
and just make a little sort of, like, love circle.
Yeah.
Of them all holding hands together.
Maybe they didn't want him to be, too involved or something. They're still trying to keep Scorpius at a distance of the crew. I mean, it's about the only thing that I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, if we were sort of Sesame Streeting with the rest of the crew and all holding hands for, like, several rounds, that would sort of erase all the menace that he has left.
Yeah, I guess so. But I thought it was a bit of a weak way to, like, suddenly, I mean, everybody has to eat it and then do the whole thing, but if he throws it up, it's fine. Yeah. Because that wouldn't work if it's bacteria, which we're talking about. We're talking about telepathic bacteria and just throwing up most of the mollusks. Those bacteria would still be in there.
Yeah, who knows what kind of special biology he has. I see your finger, what?
Yeah, no,
yes.
Keep on going, which is a...
Who knows what kind of special, like, bodily...
functionality he has.
Yes, that's right.
Right, which is a great lead into our next segment.
She gives me a woody.
She gives you a willy.
Oh, well done.
So, I mean, this is actually, I would say that scene gets my willy. The fact that Scorpius, like, just gets to throw up the stuff and doesn't get affected by any of it. I think that's a bit of a break with everything that goes on in the rest of the episode. So, I can give my willies to the sexism or the... the bodily functions and we're getting everything. But I think this is just a little bit of maybe you call it not weak plot writing, but I don't think this really fits.
I think that's fair. I think an effort was at least made by making it so arch and creating this sort of monastic environment for him and this almost ritual. Like, I think it could be said that maybe he was preparing his stomach to be invaded by something that he would resist, and like that it was quite stressful and painful for him.
Yeah.
And that he's doing this alone. But yeah, we don't really get to connect with him in the way that we want.
No.
I think my willy, yes, of course. The sexism on this planet is terrible. I think also, like, the sort of lack of really sensitive exploration of this subject, which is very, very real for very, very many people.
Yes, very much so.
Once again, like, actually bringing some really heavy topics into an otherwise comedic episode and making it, complicated to enjoy. Mine's going to go to the resolution of the mechanic and the inspector plot.
Right, yes.
Because apparently, like, just getting a new name and a better job has always just been an option for her.
Yep. But, not coming back with the same inspector is like, oh yeah, he's still on the ship or something. I mean, maybe it works. Maybe.
Yeah, and the inspector is not missed by anyone. They just move on with their lives.
It might be that it's not unusual for the inspector to come a bit later, and like if she knows that nobody's going to question her, if she just says like, oh, he's still on the ship, he'll be down later.
Yeah.
And then she's gone, and she knows she'll be gone by the time that he comes back. But it's like we're making assumptions here. We're trying to like close plot holes.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's it for the willies. How about your woodies?
Well, I mean, I love the scene again with the inspector and the mechanic and Chana, who are just like, and I'm just sitting there waiting for the moment that Scorpius is just going to pop up behind him.
Next now.
See what they're doing. Like that. I mean, the NB mechanic in the beginning, I saw also strong candidate for my Woody. That look.
There.
But no, it has to go for Ben Browder's Velvet Goldmine performance.
Me too.
Definitely.
Purple is a great color. Who cares if it's slimming?
No.
Right?
He looks fantastic like that.
Oh god, and the wig and the like the lightning eyeshadow, which really works for him. It's a fantastic look. I was going to say I hope he enjoys it, but I believe that Ben Browder is a more conservative gentleman. Like I know that his children went to Christian high schools, so I imagine this was a bit more of a hardship for him than it would have been for anyone else on the cast.
All right, so. Are we there?
And that's the story so Farscape.
Yes. Please join us next week for another fanfic and the week after that for episode 411. Or is there a greatest hiatus in between?
No, that's coming after.
After 411.
We're doing 411, and then we're going to take our little greatest hiatus.
Episode 411, Unrealized Reality Part 1, where John Crichton gets pulled into a wormhole and meets Einstein, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, I wonder what that could be about. It's a weird show, this, isn't it?
It is. It is absolutely
Wormholes
fantastic.
out of nowhere. Who saw that coming?
I've never seen those before. Anyway.
Oh, yes. Thank you for joining us once again at So Farscape Studios. You can find us at So Farscape on Facebook and Twitter, sofarscape.com, or you can find the show wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate all our supporters on Patreon who signed up via sofarscape.com/support. Whoa, and everyone who's been sending in their fantastic synopses at sofarscape.com/submit. If you would like to do any of those or suggest a fanfic, go to sofarscape.com/links. Once again, thank you to Lee for our fantastic music. That's Lee Writes Songs, also known as Give Them L, a fantastic punk artist, and also to our new friend Mark Nixon, whom we mentioned recently and whom we absolutely adore. We hope that the third season of Shadows at the Door comes quickly because we're very excited about hearing Lani Tupu. Thank you so much. I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
So Farscape.
So good.
.com. So good.
And he did that without writing it down. Thank you very much, and see you next time.